Yo guys, welcome back. Today we're looking at the 20 most fun cars for under 10k. First up on the list is the Mazda Miata. No matter which generation of Miata you go for, you're in for a good time. The light chassis and inherent balance means that every corner feels amazing. In the NA and NB models, they have some of the best shifters of all time, plus you can put the top down. Even NC generation Miatas are cheap enough to squeeze under the 5-figure mark these days. Next up on the list is the Subaru WRX. If you're looking for all-weather performance, it's hard to beat the WRX. It's been for sale in America for over 20 years, which means older used examples are extremely affordable. Just make sure to read up on common problems before pulling the trigger. Next up is the Porsche Boxster 986. The first-gen Boxster styling is starting to look a little bit out of date, and because of that, they're shockingly affordable. For under 10 grand, you can get a mid-engine convertible sport car built by Porsche with a manual transmission and naturally aspirated flat-6 engine. Next up is the BMW Z3. Want a cheap 2-seater roadster but don't want a Miata? The Z3 is a car for you. It'll deliver a similar top-down experience with luxury the Miata could never offer. Next up is the Scion FRS or the Subaru BRZ. The original Toyo Baru twins are now 7 years old, meaning higher mileage examples are starting to creep below 10k. For pure driving enjoyment, it's tough to match. Next up is the BMW M3 E36. BMW altered the E36 generation M3 for America, meaning it wasn't quite as powerful as the version sold in Europe. Prices have started to rise recently, but good running examples can still be found for under 5 figures. Next up is the Porsche 944. Used 911 prices have skyrocketed, but if you're on a budget, you can still buy a Porsche. The 944 might not be the most beloved model, but it's still a great performer for your money. Just beware of the cost of ownership. Next up is the Honda Civic SI. The Civic SI is the ultimate blend of usability, affordability, and fun. Mid-2000s hatchback models like the one shown are easy to find for under the $10,000 mark and make for truly great all-rounders. Next up is the Chevy C4 Corvette. Sure, the C4 generation may not be everybody's favorite Corvette, but you have to admit, it's a great value. For under 10k, you can get a rad 80s look, a V8 sending power to the rear wheels, and those cool pop-up headlights. Next up is the Chevy C5 Corvette. If you just aren't into the C4, high mileage examples of the C5 are starting to dip under 10k. Keep in mind though, you might not be getting the cleanest one around. Still, it's a wonderful track car out of the box, so you can't really go wrong. Next up is the Mazdaspeed 3. Used examples of the first-gen Mazda 3 can be reliably found for under 10k, and now even some higher mileage second-gen models are starting to reach that price as well. Next up is the Mazda RX-8. Though it may not be as engaging as a Miata, the RX-8 still makes for a compelling package. The main highlight is that rotary engine. You can't get it in anything else from the 21st century for these prices. Just be mindful of how much you'll need to spend to keep it running. Next up is the Toyota MR2. When it comes to cheap mid-engine performance, look no further than the Toyota MR2. Used examples from any generation can often be found for under 5 figures, so you can choose which generation is right for your needs. Next up is the Audi S4 B6. Most people will see a good-looking luxury sedan, but what they might not detect is the hammer under the hood. The B6 S4 packs a 4.2-liter 40-valve V8 making 339 horsepower in stock form, with Audi's legendary dynamics and quattro all-wheel drive, all for less than 10k with little hunting. Next up is the BMW 540i E39. No one's going to argue that the M5 version wasn't a better driver's car, but the 540i is the E39 you want to own. And even though it doesn't have 400 horsepower, the 540i's low engine torque will keep you plenty entertained. It even comes in a wagon form. Next up is the 4th gen Chevy Camaro SS. If your idea of having fun is going fast in a straight line, you're going to have a hard time beating the Chevy Camaro's bang for the buck. Next up is the Dodge Neon SRT4. The Dodge Neon is cute and generally competent, but the turbocharged SRT4 version is viciously quick. Just be careful of buying someone's heavily modified project, and look out for torque steer. Next up is the Infiniti G35. Any G35 you find is going to be at least 10 years old, but the design still looks great, even today. They're fun, surprisingly quick, and a great deal. Next up is a Lexus IS300. If you're considering a used BMW 3 Series but you value reliability, look no further than the first generation Lexus IS. The IS300 only had 215 horsepower, but its excellent handling and good-looking design make up for it. Last on the list is the Nissan 300ZX. Before the Nissan 350Z and 370Z, there was a 300ZX. It's a screaming deal for anyone looking to get their hands on a rear-wheel drive Japanese sports car, and if you can find a twin-turbo coupe in good condition, you'll have one of the gems of 1990s import performance. Thank you guys so much for watching my list of the 20 most fun cars for under 10K. See you guys in the next one.